Hello and welcome to Made It in the States, the #1 resource for finding and supporting American made products. My name is Ben Newman and I'm your host. We will be telling the stories of companies producing products here domestically. We truly believe that there is a knowledge gap issue. There are plenty of companies that are producing products right here in America. However, it is too challenging for the everyday consumer to find and support those businesses. We are here to change that. Every week, we will be talking to a new owner or CEO and learning about their story, their struggles, their triumphs, and why they are continuing to produce products right here in the United States. We are so incredibly excited to have you along for this journey. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and subscribe, as well as leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. On today's episode, we are talking to Anna of Redland Cotton. We are going to learn the story of Redland Cotton and how it stemmed from the family's cotton farm that they have had for generations. We're going to learn about how Anna and her dad took this idea and brought it into reality. They've weathered many storms, and Anna's going to share some insight through getting through COVID and opening up their own manufacturing facilities. Let's jump in and hear the story of Redland Cotton. Welcome. Today we are talking to Anna of Redland Cotton. Anna, we are so excited to have you on the show. People are probably maybe have seen Redland Cotton's ads a couple of times on different TV stations or on social media. You guys are all over the place. I'm really excited to have you here and talk about Redland Cottons.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to be here. And as you said before we started recording, kind of tell the story and share more about our business.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start with you and kind of how you got to where you are today? You're sharing before we hopped on, you're a mom, and so you're juggling running a business, being a mom. Why don't you share kind of where you are and how you got there?
Yeah, so it's kind of a full circle story about how I got into this current situation. I went to school at Auburn
Okay.
for graphic design, and I moved to New York City after graduation, and I worked in advertising there. Um, and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, was finishing pharmacy school. And when he finished pharmacy school, we made the decision to get married, and I moved from New York, and we had Nashville, Tennessee, be our compromise city. Um, and he started his residency, and I was just completely unfulfilled with the work that I was doing. I think Nashville has grown a lot, and it's grown a lot since I moved there in 2014. But at the time, it just wasn't the caliber of work that I was doing in New York. I was really unsatisfied. I was not happy. And my husband and I got married in 2015, and that winter, like over the holidays, my dad approached me with the idea of taking the cotton we grow and making it into a consumer product. And I was like, this seems like a great opportunity to take the skills that I have learned, and apply it in a business sense, to the farm. Like, I had no intentions of coming back to the farm. I didn't want to be anywhere near the farm. I took one agriculture class at Auburn, and it was the absolute worst class that I took. I performed very poorly. So that was never the goal. Um, but this idea for what is now Redland Cotton just resonated with me. My husband was very supportive. And so in 2016, we started to put together the supply chain. And in 2018, I had my first baby. So I've kind of been growing my family as I've been growing this business too. And I think that has allowed a lot of unique perspective on growing the business and not having it be all of what defines me. Um, so that's kind of the how I got into this situation.
Yeah, well, tell us. I want to dive into more about your family. So your family was a farming family, and it, how was that growing up? Did that influence you in any way? Did you want to, just completely be away from that, or, you mentioned you only took one ag class in college, but tell us about that growing up.
So yes, my grandfather, my dad's dad, bought the original farm place when my dad was a small kid, and out of six children, my dad was the only one that wanted to farm, and so he took that initial land buy and grew his farm. So he's been a farmer since the early '80s, and he's always grown cotton. And he likes to say that cotton is a crop with a personality. Anyone can grow corn or soybeans or anything like that, but it takes something special to grow cotton. Um, and I would say that that is true. It is a resilient crop, but also a little finicky. So he has been in the agriculture side for forever. My brother's farm with him now. Um, but growing up, I was always just a little bit more creative. For my senior trip out of high school, that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to go prove myself in a much bigger environment, the biggest environment. Um, and and that's where my sights were set. I didn't want to come back and be part of the family business in that sense. Um, and I mean, growing up, we until I was in about the sixth grade, our our house that we lived in was quite literally in the middle of the cotton field or cornfield, depending on which year the crop was rotated in. Um, and it was fun growing up like that. And I wish that my kids could have that growing up experience in an area that still provided them a good education, good opportunities, outside of just living in the country. You know, um,
That's a hard balance.
I
My wife and I talk about it all the time. Where we live is quite rural, and there's the duality of you love living there because of the lifestyle, but at the same time, there is challenges with the educational system and just opportunities, and it is interesting. Are you still on the farm today, or no? Do you guys live elsewhere?
so my husband has since the beginning and still does work for Vanderbilt University
Okay.
Hospital in Nashville. Um, he is a pharmacist, but he doesn't really practice pharmacy anymore. He's moved up in the corporate conglomerate that is Vanderbilt. Um, but so we live in Huntsville. Um,
Okay.
so he can easily get on 65 and get up to Nashville relatively easy. And the farm is just 45 minutes east of Huntsville. So, or no, west. I'm sorry, directions. I wish that that did exist for my kids, the kind of growing up experience that I received. But in the same breath that I say that, my parents made pretty significant sacrifice for us to go to the next county over's school system. So in the
Yeah.
sixth grade, we um, moved for school, and I think it was probably the best move for me, for sure. And It gave me a great education, and I obviously went on to use it. Um, but I think it is that disparity and inequity of opportunity
Yeah,
that a a brand like Redland Cotton is kind of trying to solve.
for
Um,
sure.
and any sort of made in the U.S. Manufacturing company, because we're creating these jobs and um, these supply chains in communities that have been largely forgotten. Um, or they are heavily rural, or they used to be a manufacturing hub and now they're not. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we talk to people all the time who are building their small businesses in rural communities, and one of the reasons that they are doing that is to bring jobs back. And it's not just to bring jobs back in general; it's because look, they people they go to church with, or their neighbors right down the road, like people need opportunity, and they think that they can provide it. Anna, want to talk about Redland Cottons just in general. If you can you give people like the 45-second minute overview of what you guys sell? Obviously, cotton products. But if
yeah,
someone had never heard of you before, what do you guys do?
yeah. So Redland Cotton takes the best fiber that we grow on our family farm in North Alabama, and we manufacture that fiber into bedding, bath towels, and apparel, all made in the United States. So we are able to trace our supply chain from the seed in the ground through spinning, weaving, finishing, and the final cut and sew, all here. Um, and we've been doing that now for almost 10 years.
And tell us about the products that you offer. Like what is it? Home goods? Is it clothing? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So we started out making bed sheets. That was our first product. And we have grown to expand into quilts and blankets and towels, and we do have some apparel as well, kind of leaning more into the loungewear category. Um, but all day, every day, our sheets are our bestseller. Um, it's it's our hero product for sure.
I'm going to give a shout out for your pajamas and loungewear. My wife has a couple of pairs and
Okay,
lives in them. So they are.
wonderful,
She loves them. Super soft. They're one of her favorite pieces of clothing.
good.
And can you give us a sense of where the farm is located within Alabama?
Yep, it is in northwest Alabama. Um, like I said, about 45 minutes from Huntsville, about 2 hours from Nashville. So we're pretty north, but still hot and humid in Alabama.
Awesome, awesome, love it. And Anna, can you give us any idea of like how many employees you guys have? People are always curious on like the impact that you guys are making.
Yeah. So we have a little over 50 direct employees. And I mean, up and down the supply chain, I would say the impact is in the hundreds. Um, but 50 directly, and 40 of those work in our cut and sew manufacturing facilities. We have a facility in Alabama and a facility in Mississippi that is cutting and sewing 90% of our bedding. Um, so that was a necessary component. It became a necessary component for us in 2020 is when we started our first cut and sew plant in Tylertown, because we literally could not get it done fast enough. We could not get product on our shelf fast enough. We were having quality issues with cut and sew that existed currently. Um, and so we decided to do it ourselves. And I think that that's an interesting thing to point out. And I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back by any means, but when you see all these people, all these business owners that have big businesses, and they are saying, you just can't get it done here. The infrastructure is just not here. I'm like, it wasn't there for us either, you know? Um, but now we own two cut and sew facilities and employ over 50 people.
Well, I think
So
that's a common thing, and these big brands throw out the idea that it can't be done, but the small guys continuously prove that it can be done. It just takes hard work, determination, and yeah, sometimes you got to go build it yourself and revitalize an industry that has been dead in the U.S. for a long time.
yeah, yeah, but it is doable,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
and there's a market for it.
Absolutely. Well, and I want to dive a little bit more into your origin story. So you talked about your dad approaching you, you wanting to find a use for your graphic design skills. Can you tell us, kind of your thought process when your dad approached you about this? How did you think about it? Becoming an entrepreneur, was that ever something that you wanted to do?
Um, you know, I don't think that it was something that I ever thought that I would do, but since I was 15, 16 years old, um, I was doing, as I mentioned, I was always a little bit more on the creative, uh, artistic side of things. But I opened my first bank account when I was 16, and I was doing custom portrait work for people. I did uh, pastel. Um, Pastel artwork. And so I had nothing that I would define as a business at that time, but it was something that I did on the weekends. And after school, I would work on my commissioned artwork. Um, and then after I graduated college and I moved to New York and I was working and not making any money, I started this little poster business. And it was just something I was doing on the side, selling on Etsy. So I think I've always had that little side hustle itch. Um, and and what I did when we were decided we were going to pursue Redland Cotton seriously, um, my senior thesis at Auburn, in graphic design, you had to come up with a company, and you had to put together a brief for it, its brand values, what it was going to make, what the price point is, what the comparison, what your competition would be.
Yeah,
And I literally pulled out my senior thesis and redid it for Redland Cotton. Um,
I love it.
and that is how I set the intention for this business. And it's just funny, I spoke at an event in Auburn not too long ago, and it's like I have not set foot inside the business building over there, but I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time at the art and the graphic design building, and I think that that is a testament to the university. And this is not like some sort of plug for Auburn, but um, that my education set the foundation to do this. Not only was I well positioned to excel in my field of study, but I also
Yeah.
had the foundational work um, to do this as well. Um, so yeah, I took my senior thesis and redid it for this business.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool to see the connection, with Auburn and then your senior thesis coming back and having an impact on starting Redland Cotton. Anna,
Yeah.
tell us about some of the challenges. You've been doing this now for enough years. You faced COVID. You had to start your own factories during COVID, which now is such a strategic advantage. No matter what's going on, you
Yes.
you control that. What are some of those other challenges that you faced? That you've had to overcome? I'm sure they're numerous.
You know, the supply chain has and continues to be our biggest challenge. Currently, when we look at the business as a whole, and we think, what would be the threat to Redland Cotton, it is that supply chain, because it is. I'm so glad to hear that the text process is popping, and there's a lot of people there,
Yeah.
because we need POs and orders in the system to shore up this supply chain. Um, so that has and always will be, and until further notice, the biggest challenge. And and then secondly, not only are we a manufacturer, not only do we do that, but we also had to become extremely well versed and smart and thoughtful about how we approached e-commerce,
Yeah.
and how we positioned ourselves and sold ourselves in this environment. And those are two very different things. Running a manufacturing and that side of the business, while also selling profitably online, um, is very challenging. And for a while there, I would say until the last year and a half, I did that mainly by myself. Um, in the last year or so, we've brought on a fractional CFO and established some operations positions that support me. But for the significant part of this business, I was running both sides of it, and it's very hard. Um, I was listening to somebody say there's a very low barrier to entry, to start an e-commerce brand right now, to get a little product market fit, to get your foot in the door. Like, that's why Shopify is so amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but to really grow it, to be profitable, to expand, um, that that's tough. It's challenging. Um,
Yeah, we
so
talk to a lot of people. We talk to a lot of people who are in your same position, right? Like they've started an ecom brand because it's so easy to do. Shopify is, I mean, such a great platform and enables you to launch stuff so quickly. But then they get focused on working like in the business and making sure that the orders are getting fulfilled. And oh gosh, people have questions that they forget. Like, okay, I found my product market fit. Like, how can I get to the next level? And it is bringing on the people that can give you guidance, the CFOs, the ops team members, because you get in this rut, and we talk to people who think they're stuck and they can't get above, and then they have this moment and they're like, I wasn't doing what I needed to be doing. Like I needed to be growing the business and finding ways to improve our product and find more customers. I was focused on shipping.
right, yeah, and but making those hires and making those strategic hires is so hard, and then training those individuals and then managing those individuals is another layer on top of itself, um, but truly, I mean, we're up this year about 10%, and I do not think that we would be in this current position had I not made those strategic hires and obviously, I mean, allocated that capital to those
Yeah,
positions. Um, so, but and I guess like that is the next phase of growth, right? Is
for
filling out a
sure.
team that helps you uh, get to the next level. Um, but each stage has its new challenges, just like
Absolutely.
raising
Well,
kids.
Exactly. Just like anything in life, there's always going to be challenges. It's how you overcome them, and that's what I want to talk about here. You know, in any journey, there's challenges. There's moments where you're curled up in a ball and like, why did I decide to do this? Why did I say
Yep.
yes, Dad? But there's those moments that you can look back to and say, this is why I do this, because this is the impact that I'm making, or this is what brings me so much joy from doing this. So I'll push through those moments where I just want to be anywhere but where I am right now. Could you share one or two of those moments that you look back to in the hard times to say, this is why I do what I do in building Redland Cotton?
You know, um, I think it's twofold. Every time we are able to hire somebody else, um, and make that personal impact is always a moment for me that is validating. Um, hearing from our vendors saying that we've been able to hire people because of your program, um, is extremely validating. Um, it also comes with a lot of responsibility too, because you're like, well, man, you hired for this. Now I got to keep this program up. And then beyond that, um, this is a good example. This year, we were contacted by Colonial Williamsburg
Okay.
to do a collaboration with them for um, the country's anniversary date for next year. You know,
Yeah.
like that to me, again, I go back to the word validation, but it's like, you're working so hard, and as you said, you can be so in the weeds looking at your shipping and um all the things that are going wrong and the small little problems that you need to fix. But then when you raise your head up and you see job creation and you see bigger brands that are noticing you and wanting to collaborate with you, it's like, okay, like if Redland Cotton didn't exist, like who would they go to? Would it be somebody overseas? You know? Um, and because we exist, we can have this partnership. We can collaborate in this way that celebrates the United States. Um, and to me, that's just a beautiful moment of realizing why we're doing what we're doing. And being able to, I don't know if you saw it, but on the day before Liberation Day,
Yeah.
with the tariffs, Fox News was at our facility, and we were able to provide a perspective on American manufacturing and what the potential is. And I understand that it is small. Like, I don't think anybody looks at Redland Cotton as like, man, we could really pump out all the Target and Walmart bedding in a model like this. But if a self-funded small business can do something like this, I think it is proof positive that a large publicly traded company could as well. So
Absolutely.
those are just
Absolutely.
some
I think
things that I.
you guys are proving the model. I've heard, a couple different podcasts that have talked about you, a couple different news segments that talk about you, and that is the theme. Always, it's like, look, like these guys are doing it. Stop saying it can't happen. It is like it is happening here in the U.S. And so we have to get over the mindset of saying, well, it's not possible, because as long as we're in that mindset, it's never going to be possible. If we just keep telling ourselves, "Oh, you can't do that because can't it wouldn't work here for whatever reason," then we just punt it. And there are so many smart people like yourself and others who are figuring it out and making it work, and not only making it work, but having a great time, employing people, and making money out of it. So it's
Yeah,
really cool. It's really cool to see that. and hear from you, kind of on your perspective on that. Anna, want to talk, um, you know, what's next for Redland Cotton? You know, is it world domination? Like, do you want to be in all the targets? Is that the goal for Redland Cotton? 30 years from now, what are you guys working towards? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Is, I think, what people would reference it as.
Yeah, I think for me, I am working to build a sustainable brand that can last. And I think that how we have grown the business slowly but surely is the reason why we are here almost 10 years later. Um, what I what I would like to continue to do is to be exactly what we are right now, but an inspiration to these big guys to come back and and do it here, um, while continuing to create an amazing product and serve our customers in that way. Um, Last year we saw five of our manufacturing partners close,
Mhm.
and that was extremely challenging. We haven't had a towel for sale for over 6 months, um, and we today just got our first towel shipment with a new vendor. But it is extremely hard, and it is a fight worth fighting. Um, and I want to continue to fight that fight and prove that it is doable, and to be a voice for people who still want to make things here. It's so frustrating to have this big old Liberation Day Rose Garden party, and then, you know, a month later, Scott Bessent is out on the news saying, we're not trying to bring back textile jobs.
Hmm.
That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to bring back, critical industry. Well, that might
Yeah.
be critical industry for somebody in Moulton, Alabama. You know,
Yep.
um, it it's so frustrating. And if there's not people like us to stand up and say that this is valid work and worthy of doing, um, then I don't think anybody else is going to stand up and do it. So, but in order to stand up and do it, we have to be growing profitably and sustainably. And so that's what I'm focused on doing. I know that was a long, rambling answer for you, but
No, I think that's perfect. And I mentioned we're at Text Process, which,
yeah,
Seams, which you are probably familiar with, has a big pavilion there, Supply Chain USA, where they're highlighting the American supply chain. And your specific example of how, it's been walked back about the textile industry being brought back into, the United States. I sat in on a symposium this morning, and one of the things that they talked about was, look, like, people think that textiles is just like, a towel, which the joke was there is like, you think towels aren't critical until you can't dry yourself off after a shower. And then everybody's complaining.
yeah,
But, it expands a lot more than just towels and household items and clothes. It's stuff for the military. It's stuff for other essential industries, right? Like, there's a lot of industries that rely on the textile industry, and so that was the message there. Is like, don't think of textiles just as clothes on your back or towels or anything like that. Like, textiles play a role in every major industry, and so they are essential and they are needed.
absolutely. I mean, so quickly we forget in 2020 all the PPE. I mean,
Yeah.
Redland Cotton was making masks for UAB and sending fabric to Vanderbilt for masks. That's
Yep.
crazy. That's nuts. And like it didn't even happen.
Nope. I think your point though, you're building a brand. You said you have to do it profitably and scalable, which is incredibly important, but it gives you a platform to then tell these stories and bring this stuff back from a spot that gives you a decent level of authority because you have a fantastic brand and you yourself have a great personal brand as well. There's lots of stuff there, so it allows you to be the voice for the industry. So I think applauding you for the work that you're doing and the messages that you're sharing because they're absolutely needed and important.
Well, thank you. And I do appreciate it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anna, as we begin to wrap up here, we like to end with the same couple of questions. We want to talk about your why, and I think we've briefly touched on it once or twice, but why is it so important for you to make stuff here in America and keep your whole supply chain domestic too? I'm sure you could go find something, somewhere overseas that was a little bit cheaper, but you're keeping it all domestic. What is the why for Redland Cotton?
For us, it was critical to our brand story. Um, it's is critical for from the farm perspective, even at that base level, to keep things in America because it is almost an unprofitable proposition to grow cotton in the United States now, because it's so heavily subsidized in other countries. Um, so just from that base level, it was important. But then the more that we got into it, the more that we were like, we have to do it here because it's barely
Mm-hmm.
doable. Um, and the more that we met people, the more that we formed relationships, the more that we got ingrained in the small textile group here in the United States, um, the more that it kind of became a like, you know what? No, we are going to do it. We are going to do it right here. And every time there's a plant closure or something else, it just almost relights a fire in you, um, to say, no, dang it, we are going to do it. And I think that that is our why. It's because it is critical, um, and it is essential.
Yeah, I think I can tell there's a sense of determination too. Like I'm just going to do it because I have to prove people that
Yeah.
it can be done.
Yes.
Anna,
And
we have. Go ahead.
well, and my like sidebar uh, is that, not only are we gonna do it here, but we are gonna do it beautifully here. You were talking about
Mhm.
seeing our magnolia pattern, at the Seams Pavilion, at Tex Process. Like, we're not just making a white sheet or a white bath towel.
Mhm.
We're wanting to compete on a higher level artistically, um, as well. And so I think just on top of it, like that's just another thing that sets us apart. And also saying, like, yes, I can source most of my trims here too, you know?
Mhm.
So that's just another sidebar for me. It's like it's not even enough to just make it here. We're going to make it beautifully here.
Well, and that's your artistic background, right? Like you're bringing that side of you and saying, "Look, we're not just going to make the plain white sheet. That's no fun. Let's really do it. Let's really prove that this can be done, and it can be done in so many ways." Anna, we get a lot of people who listen to our podcast who are owners of a American made in America brand, and they're continually trying to bring more of their supply chain to the U.S. Maybe the finished good is made here, but they have to source some of their fabric from overseas. What is the one piece of advice you give that person on how to start looking at their supply chain and then saying, okay, how do I start? Because I think it's daunting for a lot of people, right? You look at it and you're like, I'm going to punt that because that's going to be a couple week project that I don't have time for right now, and I may not even come out the end of it figuring out. And then there's the ongoing management because, like you said, people close or they close down a product line. So, what is the one piece of advice you'd give to that person on where to start and how to at least begin that process, not solve it, because I think that's a whole nother conversation.
I think truly, uh, it is communicating the value of Made in America to your customer. I saw an article, some e-commerce brand. They did a marketing test on their website. They sold, I think it was a shower head, that said made in the USA for a higher price, and their normal shower head made in China, I guess. Um, and their come away from that was that people don't care whether it's American made; they're going to buy the cheaper option. And I don't think that just slapping a label on it is communicating to the customer the value. So that would be my first point, is that if you are going to make an investment in American made, if it is going to be more expensive, if you are going to put your own time and money into it, back it up with words, back it up with communication, back it up with advertising about why you are sourcing and building here. And then two, as to how you get it done, it is building relationships. We went and visited every single, and it's full circle moment. We went and visited every single initial vendor on that supply chain, went and toured their facilities, pitched them the idea of Redland Cotton. And it's funny because we all of us met Parkdale, Hamrick, and Brewster Yates from Yates Bleacher. We all met at Text Process in 2016. And we were like, okay, guys, we're all on the same page. We're all going to work together and we're going to make this happen.
Yep.
And that's where it went down, was at Text Process. Got everybody in the same room and put that together. But that is what it takes. There is no directory out there of, sadly, American made suppliers. They are like underground in a cave. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Like, why is it so hard to find the people? But they are out there for the most part, just small and family oriented, and they don't want to bring anybody in there that's going to mess up their business. They've survived for this long. And like with our towel vendor that we onboarded, it took us, I mean, this is this year. It took us going there and looking at how their business operated and saying, we are going to design a towel that uses your technology that you're using. We understand that you are running these programs at this time. We want you to just slot us in. We want to work with you. How can we make this happen? Instead
So
of,
it's a true partnership. It's a true partnership. It's not a hey, I think a lot of people come in and they say, look, hey, I'm going to give you business. You got to do it my way or the highway, right? And they're looking at you like, hey, look, we like where we are. Like we're good. We're small. We're not going to deal with that because that's too much for us. And I think you're highlighting just the importance of the partnership and the relationships that you build to make this happen because it is so relational.
it is, and that is the nature of it. So if you're willing to invest that time and willing to bend maybe on what you thought your initial design was going to be or something like that, and you are going to work to communicate it to your customer, I think it is totally viable. You can totally do it. It's just a different way of looking at things. It is not the China model. Um,
Mm-mm.
it's just not.
No, it's hard, but it's worthy work. Anna, as we wrap up, we like to ask the same final question to everybody on the podcast. Favorite made in America products outside of Redland Cotton that you use, enjoy on a day to day basis?
Um, I really like to buy American Giants clothing. Um,
Okay.
I I really and I have this dress from them that I bought a couple years ago. It's a linen dress, and I love it. Um, my skincare is made in America. It's a company called Barefaced.
Okay.
They are made in America. Um, there is a sock company that is called Mayo Mills. Have you heard of them?
I've not. We've talked to a ton of sock companies, but not them. We'll have to check them out.
They've been super they've been super nice on our Instagram and like just social commenting, and I think their product is really good. Um, but yeah, those three off the top of my head are are great. I've bought flatware from Liberty Tabletop. Um,
Gotta love, gotta love them.
yeah, um, and then flags from Allegiance Flag Supply. Um, yeah,
Yeah, there's so many. I think that's what we like to highlight, and that's why we like to ask this, is because there are so many different things that are made in America. You do just have to do a little bit of research sometimes, and it does take a little bit more work, and you may pay a higher price initially, but we always go back to the cost per use
yeah,
is significantly less when you buy a quality product because you're going to wear it or use it for much longer than you do the cheap, the cheap sheen dress or the cheap towel that you buy from Walmart. So it's fantastic. And Anna, it's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. I want to give you one last chance here just to share a closing message with the audience about what you're building at Redland Cotton.
yeah. I hit on it probably a few times during the course of this conversation, um, but I truly hope that we can be an inspiration for people who are looking to grow things here and make things here. And we will continue to try to be a positive light in a world of some pretty radical negativity. So I hope that I can continue to be that. That's my goal.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is such a worthy message, such a worthy goal. It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. We'll make sure to link the website down below and your Instagram as well so people can follow along and they can now go buy towels sometime soon, maybe?
Yeah, later today, we'll get them up on the site. But yeah, only more good things to come.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anna. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.